Alright, some really cool news, everyone. So, we've got updates on Valve's Steam Deck, a console that I'm extremely excited to get my hands on. So, I think we should just dive into it, because they really are making it like a console, and I think that does mean there's going to be some pros to the Steam Deck experience that will be great for consumers. So yes, the Steam Deck really is like a console. Right, basically, Valve are making a big public show and dance over what goes on behind the scenes with consoles, and that means verification, QC, and curating the player experience. So the Steam Deck, conceptually to Valve, is a console. It's just one that's very easy to jailbreak and do what you want with if you want to, and I really do quite love that. So we've got deck compatibility ratings. These are just some very clearly, just outlined things that they've got here. Many games work great as is on deck. Some games may require manual user configuration or only be relevant to users with specific setups. Other games may not be a good experience because of the shift to a portable form factor or incompatibility with hardware and software. The core goal of the compatibility review process is making it clear to customers, basically, how well your game fits on. So we've got verified. Game passes everything, no config needed, thumbs up, good. Playable, your game functions on deck, but may require manual work from the user. Things like selecting a community controller config, requiring the user to manually bring up an on-screen keyboard, things like that. Then there is unsupported, which is just the hardware compatibility issues, Proton issues, or unknown where it's not went through the process. Now, this is great for developers because it will help developers clearly communicate their game to the customers and provide the devs with just a very clear set of things they have to do. And of course, fantastic for customers, because that's always the thing. You're trying to cram a Steam library onto a very specific bit of hardware that may not do everything well. And it's nice that they are basically trying to make a big, seamless console-like experience with a big green, happy verified icon that will just mean that a user can purchase with confidence. And that's going to be great for just reducing the amount of negative experiences that could happen on deck. Now, that's going to mean controller support for everything, the correct controller icons, a default config that runs playable at 1280 by 800 or 1280 by 720, readable text, no unsupported dialogue or launcher bullshit. Just spitting the truth. What you would want. And yes, they strongly recommend against requiring user to navigate a launcher. Phew, launchers are pretty annoying. So if that stuff fails, then of course it can run, but it gets the playable, not the verified tick, and you can intuit the other ones as well. This is basically just a manual verification that gives preferential treatment to the most seamless experiences. But of course you can do what you want, because it's a Steam Deck. It's still a Valve thing. I just think this is great for consumers, great for creators, great for everyone.
Yeah, it is. It is literally just their, like, okay, for people who pick up the Steam Deck, you get the tab on the Steams because it's a unique view. It just says great on deck. It's only verified games. You don't have to think about it. Don't have to worry. You just, whatever's in that view, work away. But if you're, less someone who's just going to pick up a console and play whatever's in front of you, if you do have an idea, then you still have access to the full Steam store. It just requires one press of R1, which, very, a lot of effort to get over there. But I think most of you will make it. So it's just fantastic that, especially the fact that they were hiring up to review all 50,000 games manually. That's insane. That is a gargantuan amount of effort, and I'm really happy to see them do it. Especially making it public. That's a good one. You
can tell they really want this thing to actually take off in a way that Steam Machines didn't. That's good. Mm-hmm. So next, this is, I think, really all about consumer confidence in the platform. And the next great part is right to repair, because this is something that almost everyone else is shite at. Valve are taking a different option, one that I think befits them being a very PC-first company. So, yes, a good form of unusual. They basically launched a video. In this video, they teach you how to open the Steam Deck and replace some of its parts, like the thumbsticks and even the SSD. Even though it's your PC, or will be once you've received your Steam Deck, and you have every right to open it up and do what you want, we don't really recommend that you ever open it up. So they do say that, but they then basically provide you with a teardown. Now, it does say you shouldn't do any of this. That's them being safe, but they obviously know what their consumers want, and this is fantastic for right to repair. So yeah, this is fantastic. Now, as a side note, Microsoft have also planted their banner. The TLDR here is that, as you sow, a shareholder advocacy group put pressure on Microsoft, and they took this as a bit of a wake-up call, and they did a study on right to repair. They then came back with a different legal counsel, changed their tune, and are now saying that they believe customers are entitled to repair options that are safe and reliable. So in a world where Apple are rubbish at right to repair and a bunch of stuff like that, it is really fantastic to see it actually catch on, and for Valve to be reasonable here. So Valve continue noting that they aren't designed to be user swappable, but they then show a bunch of things. Also some nice Portal-like humor. For example, if you damage the battery, the whole thing could catch fire later, which would be bad. Leave this kind of thing to professionals unless you really feel like taking big risks with your property and with your life, which could end if you do this wrong. Just saying. Nice. Technically true, but, probably not going to happen. They warn you not to for all the usual reasons, like you could get some static, that could, mess things up, etc., etc. But then they do just move you through a guided disassembly, and the next really cool part is when they get to the thumbstick. They warn that the whole thumbstick assembly is custom, but then they say this: replacing these will require matching the custom parts exactly. Stay tuned in the coming months for a source of replacement parts, thumbsticks, SSDs, and possibly more. So this basically is going to mean that as a consumer, you will be able to purchase spare parts for the hardware that you own and install them yourself. Or if you are a hardware repair business, you can train up your staff on how to do a Steam Deck, and then you can easily source parts from Valve, which is very different from, say, the Apple procurement process for getting parts for the purpose of repair. This is just great.
Yeah, I mean, to anyone in the games market paying attention, you will literally hear that and go, "Oh, you have just told Nintendo to go fuck themselves."
Yeah,
It's like there is not a thumbstick that doesn't have some sort of drift attached to long-term use, and this is the first one that goes, "Yeah, just replace it. We'll sell you the replacement parts." It's on its own daughter board, so it is literally a case of take off a couple of screws, take off the casing, detach a couple of ribbon cables, take it out, put it back in, put the ribbon cables back on, screws, job's done. It is just insane. Like, it was really fun watching Linus and Anthony react to this video. Linus Tech Tips people, and they were like, I think it was at that line they just started clapping. Like, they're actually so happy to hear this. As people who are experienced in tech, they're like, this is literally like, we shouldn't be so happy with this. This shouldn't be groundbreaking, but it is.
Yeah, meanwhile, enjoy your Joy-Con drift.
Yeah, your Joy-Con drift. Or in my case, I think it's like it has seen relatively heavy use, but one of the Xbox One controllers stick drifts like crazy. And it's like, I saw a lot less use than some other controllers that drifts like crazy. I'm like, oh, I guess that's just, unusable.
Yeah.
And that's a full controller with no way. Like, my solution is get a new controller, basically, which is just completely unreasonable in a world where this exists.
Yeah. Oh, it's wild. So this is fantastic news. And to continue this tour of trying to inspire user confidence in the platform, we've got games. So let's talk about some of the games. Here is Devil May Cry 5 running on Steam Deck. There it is. So yeah, Valve have basically just shown off a bunch of games running on the hardware, which is definitely a nice thing to see. From Mike Rose of No More Robots, Valve sent over a Steam Deck. Thanks, lovelies. So I've been going through our games and checking whether they work without any additional development on our part. For Descenders, it works flawlessly. It runs on ultra graphics, about 50 to 60 FPS. So drop that down to high, you'll have a solid 60 and a great Descenders experience on the go. Then here's Dan Fernacci saying Rivals of Aether rollback open beta starts Monday. And when they ship, you'll be able to play Rivals with rollback on your very own Steam Deck. They're getting the Steam Decks out to devs, which really makes me think we did put in a hardware request, so
yeah, we should have one.
I'll need to follow up. And yeah, we'll have a Steam Deck. I mean, on the dev side, we should have one pretty soon, and even on the consumer side, I did pre-order one.
You did, yeah.
I just didn't get it didn't get to doing that super early. Now, of course, what I really want to see is one of these make its way to Digital Foundry for them to do, proper tests. I want to see what the frame rates are. What are the lows? What are the highs? What are the averages? All of the things that Digital Foundry do, I want to see. But certainly from a marketing perspective and inspiring a bit of confidence, I mean, if you can get Devil May Cry 5 running, and if you can get that to 720-60, then that would be a pretty ballin' experience, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that people kind of will maybe not super get immediately. 720p makes a game very easy to run comparatively.
It's a lot less pixels.
Yeah, especially to people who are now, like me, accustomed to playing games at 1440p. And sure, it's not going to look quite as crisp, but it's on a small screen that if you're playing a verified game, Steam or Valve have verified that there's not going to be any visibility issues because they've actually played it and said, yeah, this is perfect. So you've got this like perfect experience that is going to be way more performant than a Switch. It launches with 50,000 games via the Steam store.
Many of which you already own.
Yeah, also it's on Steam OS. So you're like, well, that's just a Linux distro, basically, a custom Linux distro. And you can do whatever you want with it because it's a PC.
Is that really something that's architected to be very efficient, very good for games?
Yeah.
There's also, I mean, like, look, 720p, that is a quarter of the pixel count of 1440.
Yep.
Quarter. So, yeah, it does seem like this wee lad actually runs things pretty damn good, all things considered. At the very least, it runs them a lot more powerful than the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah. And it's even the idea that, like, because one of the reasons I pointed out that these just are developers just playing it, Steam haven't said, no, don't show anyone your dev kit. This is deeply under an NDA. They went, yeah, work away, do whatever you want. So you've got, I mean, these were only like 2 selections. Valve showed off a couple more games, which obviously goes to show they're like, yeah, this shit runs. We can prove it. Yeah. So it's just all of these developers going, yeah, here's our game, here's our indie game running on this. Or I think it was, I can't remember which game it was, but there was some like, I can't remember, it was like one of the classic adventure games or something, but it was just, mouse input. And they were like, oh yeah, controller, we don't have controller support for the game, but you can just touch your way through because it's a touchscreen.
Yeah.
And it means like, that would fall under playable, that wouldn't fall under verified, but it's completely playable from beginning to end.
Well, even like stuff for us, I mean, our game works with mouse and keyboard. It also works, on like on the controls of a Switch, right? Or presumably then the controls of any other console in an easy enough fashion. So, I obviously cannot tell you this or, I can't make anything that you should ever take as an announcement in this current capacity. But certainly as a bunch of developers, we look at this and we think, okay, well, it shouldn't be that hard to squeeze our game onto that thing. Seems like it could work. I mean, like if Mike can just get Descenders working super quick. I mean, certainly if it then turns out that, like, yes, Your Grace and a few other things that No More Robots have done, I mean, that'll certainly be happy days for us, right? So it seems like this is a very development-friendly platform, and Valve are doing just a great job at making devs and consumers feel confident in it. Mm-hmm. I'm happy with my pre-order. I still say don't pre-order things. Of course, we pre-ordered to, get it early enough to do coverage, which we've done with things such as the Google Stadia before. Wasn't that worth it? But yeah, basically, GG Valve, we're all really excited, and you are completely nailing your run-up to release in terms of communication, so well done. I'm excited.
Yep. Actually, there's one little thing I forgot to mention from the Linus video. He sent an email to his Valve correspondent when he was there to ask questions for future plans, and all he did was hint at the end something around. He got a response in the middle of filming a video, which means they're on the ball at least. But because they had some concerns about how the video was actually shot. But could we maybe have done this with them to guide them or whatever else? And all he could say was they have some internal hoops to go through, but we should expect a lot more from Valve themselves going forward. Which is I imagine performance tests. I imagine maybe even a full teardown, something like that.
Good. Seems like they don't really have much to hide.
Yeah.
That shows confidence. So, yeah, there you go. Steam Deck, actually really excited. And that's it for the video. So, hope you enjoy it. Of course, there's more on the channel. Go watch them, and we will see you next time.